Welcome, YouTubers, to another episode in my Grammar Hero series. In today's video, I'm going to work out the problems from the Mathematics Knowledge Subtest of the second practice test on my website. In case this is your first time coming across my YouTube channel, I recently created a small website that has two practice tests on it, both of which quickly and roughly estimate your AFQT score. You can access that website by going to this link. If for some reason you don't want to take this practice test on my website, you're more than welcome to use this video for practice, in which case I recommend that you pause the video after I read each question, attempt to work out the question on your own, and then resume playing the video to check your solution. As a reminder, you're not permitted to use calculator or a reference sheet on the ASVAB. So if you're taking this practice test through YouTube, try not to use any of those resources. Finally, I want to say that in the description of this video, there's going to be timestamps that are associated with each question. Next to the timestamp, there's going to be the topic that the question's testing, as well as a link to a video where I discuss that topic in greater detail. So all those things finally being said, let's go ahead and get started with today's video. All right, so the website starts the mathematics knowledge subtest at question 11, which is why we're starting at question 11 in this video. And it says if the area of a triangle is 24 square inches and its base is 6 inches, what is the height of the triangle? So for this one, it's going to be helpful to draw a little diagram. And since this problem doesn't specify what type of triangle we're dealing with, I'm just going to draw a simple right triangle. According to this problem, the base of this triangle is 6 inches. Here's the base, so we're going to let that be 6 inches. We know the area of this triangle is 24 inches squared, and we want to figure out what the height of this triangle is, and here's the height. On my reference sheet, I do have information about how to find the area of triangles, and this height and base changes depending on what type of triangle you draw. So if you need more help labeling the parts of a triangle, just consult my reference sheet. But that said, we know we're dealing with finding the area of a triangle, and that formula is going to be area equals 1/2 times base times height. Let's fill in what we know. We know A equals 24 inches squared. So in place of A here, I'm going to put 24. 1/2 is a constant in this formula, so it's not going to change. We know the base, according to the problem, is 6 inches. So we're going to label that as such. And we know we're trying to figure out what the height is. So at this point, it should be pretty clear that we're trying to solve for h, which means we want to rearrange this equation such that we get h by itself. The very first thing I'm going to do is take this 1/2 and multiply it by 6. And I'm not going to work that off to the side because you do have to get good at doing some very basic mental math for the ASVAB. 1/2 times 6 is 3. So this is 3h equals 24. In order to get h by itself, we're going to do the opposite of what this is. This is 3 times h, so we're going to do divide by 3. This crosses out here, leaving you with just h on this side. 24 divided by 3 is 8. And in math, it's customary to write the variable for which you solved on the left. So this is h equals 8, which, as we can see, is c. Okay, so this is a formula you absolutely need to know for the ASVAB. You need to know how to find the area of triangles. Okay, so that's that one. Nothing too difficult there. All right, number 12 says completely factor 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. So on the ASVAB, you're going to have to know how to factor different types of quadratic equations. In this case, we have a quadratic equation in which the leading coefficient is not 1. Specifically, it's 2. So we have 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. The method I use to factor a quadratic equation when the leading coefficient isn't 1 is called the AC, or Australian method. Again, all quadratic equations are of this form. They're 2x squared plus bx plus c. In other words, 2 is a, b is 7, and c is 3. And what the Australian or AC method says to do, it says take a and multiply it by c, which is going to be 2 times 3. So a times c is 6. Write down b. B we identified as 7. And we want to find two factors of A and C that add to B. So if we think about it, 6 and 1, 6 times 1 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. So these are going to be the two factors that we're going to use. And more specifically, we're going to take these two factors and we're going to plug them in to our original equation in place of this 7x, and then we're going to factor by grouping. So let's go ahead and rewrite this original equation. Again, this 2x squared doesn't change, so we're going to just copy it down. 2x squared plus, and I'm going to go ahead and in place of 7x, I'm going to put 6x plus 1x plus 3. And now the goal is to factor by grouping. When you factor by grouping, you want to imagine that you're working with two different equations. So I'm going to draw a line right here to remind myself that I'm working on these separately. So from this first equation, 2x squared plus 6, I can factor out a 2x, which leaves me with x plus 3 over here. Now when I factor this second equation, I want to factor it such that I get the same thing in parentheses. So what I can factor from 1x plus 3 is just a 1. And this becomes x plus 3. Okay, so now we combine 2x plus 1. And we bring down one of the x plus 3's. And this one has been completely factored. So we know the answer to this one is 2x plus 1, x plus 3, which we can see is D. Again, on my YouTube channel, I do have 3 or 4 videos regarding different factoring techniques you can use to factor equations, including the AC or Australian method. So if you need more help with this one, go ahead and take a look at that video. Once you get the hang of it, it's not that hard to use. All right, number 13 says, in the sequence 4, 12, 36, x, 324, what is the most likely value of x? So when you're dealing with sequences, you can either take an algebraic approach to solving these, or you could just use some logic. And if you use the logical approach, you basically are trying to figure out what gets you from one term to the next term in the sequence, and that has to work for every term in the sequence. So in other words, what's going to get us from 4 to 12? Well, I know 4 times 3 gets me 12. Let's see if that holds true to go from 12 to 36. Well, 12 times 3 is also 36. So as far as I can tell, if we take the previous term and multiply it by 3, that will get us to the next term in the sequence. So to go from 36 to x, we're going to take 36 and multiply it by 3 as well. 6 times 3 is 18, so we're going to drop down an 8 and carry a 1. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So as far as I can tell, the most likely value of x in this sequence is going to be 108, which is B. Okay, so that's that one. All right, number 14 says, what does 6 1/3 plus 5 3/10 equal? So we're dealing with mixed numbers here, notably 6 1/3 plus 5 3/10. There's a few approaches you can take to this problem. You can convert 6 1/3 to an improper fraction and 5 3/10 to an improper fraction. Add those together and then convert them back to a mixed number. But that said, for this one, it's going to be easier to add the whole numbers, notably 6 and 5. Again, 6 plus 5 is 11. And then add the fractions separately. So we have, as you can see, 1/3 plus 3/10. In order to add fractions, the denominators have to be the same. And in this case, we have 1/3, the denominator of 3, and 3/10, denominator of 10. Since those denominators are different, we can't just add these right away. Instead, we have to rewrite them such that they have the same denominator. And to do that, we're going to place them over 30 in this case. And the reason why is it's pretty easy to convert 3 to 30 and 10 to 30 as well. Again, 3 times 10 will give you 30. And if I take that 10 and multiply by its numerator, 1 times 10, we have an equivalent fraction. So 1/3 is the same as 10 over 30. Likewise, it's very easy to convert 3/10 to a fraction over 30 by multiplying 10 by 3. Again, 10 by 3 is also 30. And if we do that to the numerator as well, 3 times 3, which is 9, you can see that we've made these denominators the same. And now that the denominators are the same, we just add the numerators. Again, the denominator is not going to change, so this becomes 10 plus 9. 10 plus 9 is 19 over 30. Okay? Now let's go ahead and combine our fraction back with our whole number. And this becomes 11 and 19 over 30, which we can see is C. All right, number 15 says, find the mean, median, mode, and range of the following. 3, 12, 9, 7, 17, 4, and 4. So let's get started with doing the easiest of all these. Let's start with the mode. And the mode is simply the number that appears the most often. Whereas all the other numbers appear once, we can see that 4 appears twice in this data set. So we know the mode of this data set is going to be 4. So we did the mode. Range is also pretty easy to find, so let's go ahead and do that next. Range is the biggest number in your data set subtracted by the smallest number in your data set. Well, the biggest number in this data set is 17. The smallest number in this data set is 3. So this is 17 minus 3. 17 minus 3, of course, is 14. So we just found the range. In order to find the median, you have to order the numbers in your data set from least to greatest. So we have 3, 4, 4, 7, 9, 12, and 17. And once you do that, you cross off numbers at each end respectively until you get to the middle term or the middle two terms. So let's start doing that. We have 3 and 17, 4 and 12, 4 and 9. So we can see that the median of this data set is going to be 7. So now all we do is have to find the mean. That's going to require the most amount of work to do. Again, the mean is adding up all the numbers in your data set divided by how many numbers there are in the data set. So in other words, that looks like this. 3 plus 12 plus 9 plus 7 plus 17 plus 4 plus 4. So that's all the numbers in this data set added up. And we're going to divide that by how many numbers there are in this data set. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so let's go ahead and add these up. 4 and 4 is 8. 17 is, and 7 is 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 3 and 12 is 15. 15 plus 9 is going to be 24. So we have 24, 24, and 8. Well, I know 8 and 24 is 32. So 32 and 24 is going to be 2 plus 4 is 6. 3 plus 2 is 5. So this becomes 56 over 7. 56 divided by 7 is going to be 8. Okay? So the mean, in other words, is 8. So we're looking for these numbers: 4, 14, 7, and 8. So let's see if we got it here. 4, 14, 7, and 8. So right away, I know A is the correct answer choice. And I'm not going to look at any of the other ones. So that's this one. All right, number 16 says, if 7 to the 10th power equals 7 times 7 to the nth power, what is the value of n? So we have 7 to the 10th power equals 7 times 7 to the nth power. In order to solve this one, you have to know your laws of exponents. Particularly, you have to know the product rule, which says this: if you have a to the m times a to the n, that's the same as a to the m plus n. And that's what we have here. As you can see, we have a base of 7 raised to some exponent. And in case it's not obvious, this 7 with no exponent is the same as 7 to the first power. Again, anything to the first power is just that number, so 7 to the first power is just 7. So in reality, this is 7 to the first power times 7 to the n. And according to the product rule, we can combine these to be 7 to the 1 plus n equals 7 to the 10th. You should be able to realize that 1 plus 9 equals 10. But in case that's not obvious, we can solve it like this. We have 10 equals 1 plus n. To get n by itself, we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. This crosses out, leaving you with n equals 10 minus 1, which is 9. Okay, so n in this case is 9. On the ASVAB, you do have to know the laws of exponents, and I do have a video in which I discuss all of those. I think that video is over an hour long because I do about 35 practice problems in that video. So check it out if you need help with the laws of exponents. All right, number 17 says, if 2x minus y equals negative 5 and y equals 1 minus 3x, then what is the value of y? In case it's not obvious, we're dealing with a system of equations here. So let's start by writing down what we're given. We have 2x minus y equals negative 5. Then we have y equals 1 minus 3x. This right here is our system of equations. That said, we can see that this first equation says x minus y equals some constant, whereas we have y equals 1 minus 3x. The very first thing I want to do is rewrite this bottom equation such that it mirrors the form of this first equation. That is to say, I want x's and y's to be on one side and whole numbers to be on the other side. So I'm going to take this 3x and just add it to both sides here. I'm just going to copy over this first equation since we're not going to make any adjustments to it. We have 2x minus y equals negative 5. And right here, I added 3x to both sides, so this becomes 3x plus y equals 1. And negative 3x plus 3x just crosses out. And as we can see now, the form of these two equations is the same. That is to say, we have x's and y's on one side of the equal sign and the whole value on the other side of the equal sign. For this problem, we don't want to solve for x per se. We just want to solve for y. So that's going to be the focus of our next step. Again, we're solving a system of equations such that we're only solving for y. And in order to do that, we want to use either the substitution or elimination methods to solve this system of equations. And more specifically, we want to use one of those two methods such that we just get y left over. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this top equation and I'm going to multiply it by -3. I'm going to take this bottom equation and multiply it by +2. And the reason why is this. -3 times 2x is going to be -6x, whereas 2 times 3x is +6x. -6x plus +6x cancels out, and the x variable, as a result of that, is eliminated. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this step by step. I'm going to take this -3 and times it by everything in parentheses here. So we have -3 times 2x, which is going to be -6x. -3 times -y. Negative times a negative is a positive. So this becomes +3y. -3 times -5 is going to be +15. Again, a negative times a negative is a positive. Let's do the same thing with this bottom equation. We got 2 times 3x, 2 times y, and then finally 2 times 1. 2 times 3x is going to be 6x. 2 times +y is going to be 2y. And then 2 times 1 is just 2. All right, let's go ahead and keep solving this. And at this point, we're adding these two equations together. -6x plus 6x is nothing, so I'm not going to write anything right there. The x variable is eliminated. 3y plus 2y is 5y. 15 plus 2 is 7. Again, we want to solve for y, not 5y, so we're going to divide both sides by 5 to get y by itself. This becomes y equals 17 over 5, which is answer choice A. Okay, so that's that one. All right, number 18 says, what is the distance around a circular field that has a radius of 35 kilometers? Use 22 over 7 for pi. Okay, so we're dealing with a circular field here, and we know its radius is 35 kilometers. Radius is the distance from the center point of the circle to one edge of the circle. So in other words, this distance right here is 35 kilometers. And since we're looking to find the distance around this circular field, we know we're going to be trying to find its circumference. So for the ASVAB, you're going to have to know that formula, and there's two of them. Circumference is either pi times diameter, or it's 2 pi r. Depending on what you're given, you're either going to use the first one or the second one. In this problem, we were given the measurement of this circular radius. So we're going to use the formula circumference equals 2 pi r. And what's more, we're told that we have to use 22 over 7 in place of pi. So let's plug those things in accordingly. We have circumference equals 2. In place of pi, I'm going to put 22 over 7. And we know our radius is 35. So at first glance, this looks like it's pretty difficult. That said, we can reduce this 22 over 7 times 35 pretty easily, and I'm going to do that off to the side. We have 22 over 7 times 35. If we place this 35 over 1, which we can do, this becomes a lot easier to simplify. I know 7 goes into 7 one time, and 7 goes into 35 5 times. Anything divided by 1 is itself, so this becomes 22 over 1, which is just 22, times 5 over 1, which is just 5. And if you need to, we can write it like this to work this out. 5 times 2 is 10, carry your 1. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. So this becomes 2 times 110, and 2 times 110 is 220. Of course, this is kilometers. And if you need to, we can work out this 110 times 2 off to the side. 0 times 2 is 0. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Okay, so the answer to this one is C, 220 kilometers. On that reference sheet on my website, I included the formulas to find the area and circumference of circles. That's something you absolutely need to know how to do for the ASVAB. Okay, so that's that one. All right, number 19 says, what is the volume of a cylinder that has a diameter of 10 inches and a height of 20 inches? So if it's helpful, we can draw a diagram of a cylinder. Kind of looks like this. And in order to find its volume, we're going to have to do this formula, pi r squared times height. This pi r squared refers to the area of one of the faces of the cylinder, and we just multiply it by its height to find its volume. So let's go ahead and plug in what we have. We know the height is 20 inches, so this is h. We know the diameter is 10 inches, but we only want the radius. Again, the radius is this point to the center point to the edge. Radius is always diameter over 2. So if your diameter is 10, the radius is 10 over 2, which means the radius is 5. Okay, again, we know the height is 20 inches. So let's start plugging things in. We have pi. We know the radius of this cylinder is going to be 5. So this is 5 squared times the height, which is 20. Volume equals, let's go ahead and work this out. 5 squared is 25. So this is 25 times 20. And let's work this out before we deal with this pi. So we have 25 times 20. 5 times 0 is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. Before we start multiplication with this 0, we have to bring in a 0 placeholder. 5 times 2 is 10, so carry a 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So as we can see, this becomes 25 times 20, which is 500. This is 500 pi, and volume's always given in cubic measurements. So this is volume equals 500 pi cubed, which we can see is D. Okay, so that's that one. Get on that reference sheet. I included the formula to find the volume of a cylinder. You absolutely need to know that for the ASVAB. All right, so number 20 says, simplify the expression. We have negative 2 parentheses 1 times 4 minus 2 divided by 2 plus parentheses 6 plus 2 minus 3. Okay, so whenever you have an expression that's all jumbled up like this, it should be a clue that you're going to have to make use of the order of operations to simplify the expression. And the order of operations are best remembered by the acronym PEMDAS, or Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally. Again, this tells you the order in which you simplify expressions like these. You do what's in parentheses first, that's the P. You do exponents next if there are any. Then you do multiplication and division as they appear from left to right. And then you do addition and subtraction as they appear from left to right. That is to say, multiplication and division are equals, and addition and subtraction are equals as well. Okay, so with that in mind, let's go ahead and copy this down. We have negative 2, 1 times 4 minus 2 divided by 2 plus, let me move over a little bit, 6 plus 2 minus 3. All right, so according to the order of operations, we're going to work out what's in parentheses first. So inside these parentheses, we're also following the order of operations. Okay, so, and let's do one set of parentheses at a time. In this first set of parentheses, we have multiplication, subtraction, and division. According to the order of operations, we do multiplication and division before addition and subtraction. And more specifically, we do multiplication and division as they appear from left to right. Multiplication happens to come first, so I'm going to work this out first. This is 1 times 4, which is just 4 minus 2 divided by 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and keep working out this set of parentheses. we have 4 minus 2 divided by 8. Well, of course, division comes before subtraction. So we're going to work out this division next. This is 4 minus 2 divided by 2 is just 1. Okay? And let's keep working out this set of parentheses. 4 minus 1 is just 3. Okay, so the parentheses on this side of the expression are taken care of. Let's go ahead and work on this set of parentheses now. As you can see, we have addition and subtraction. Again, those are equal, so we're going to work them out as they appear from left to right. So I'm going to do this addition first. 6 plus 2 is 8, so this is 8 minus 3. Of course, we know 8 minus 3 is 5. So this becomes negative 2 times 3 plus 5. And again, we have multiplication here, addition here. We're going to do the multiplication before the addition. So this is negative 2 times 3, which is negative 6, plus 5. Now all we have left is addition. Negative 6 plus 5 is negative 1. Okay, so the answer to this one is negative 1C. All right, number 21 says, write the equation of a line that passes through the point negative 2, 5, and has a slope of negative 4. This is a very common question on the ASVAB. You'll be given some information and be asked to write the equation of a line. So in this case, let's identify what we have. We have slope, which is always going to be m, being negative 4. And we have this ordered pair, negative 2, 5. Of course, in an ordered pair, you have x and then y. So this negative 2 is x, and this 5 is y. In order to write an equation of a line given this information, you can just take these values and plug them into the point slope equation and then solve for y. The point slope equation is this: y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now, this x1 and y1 refer to the ordered pair that you're given. So technically, this is x1 and this is y1. So let's plug those things in and solve for y accordingly. We have y minus y1 is 5 equals m. M is negative 4, that's the slope, times x minus x1, which is negative 2. Let's go ahead and work on simplifying this. We have y minus 5. We're not going to deal with that yet. Let's take this negative negative and make it a positive. Again, negative negative is the same as positive. So this is negative 4 times x plus 2. Now as our next step, let's take this negative 4 and distribute it to this x as well as to this 2. So this becomes y minus 5 equals negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Negative 4 times positive 2 is negative 8. All right, let's get y by itself now. So to do that, we're going to add 5 to both sides. This crosses out here, leaving you with y equals negative 4x. Negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. So the equation of this line is y equals negative 4x minus 3, which we can see is A. Okay? So that's all I have for you in this video. I hope you found it helpful. Again, a lot of the problems you saw in this video are going to closely mirror what you'll see on the ASVAB. And similarly, you're not allowed to use a reference sheet or a calculator. So you have to become proficient at memorizing some basic formulas, as well as doing this work by hand. If you like the content I'm creating, please consider subscribing to my channel. As always, you're more than welcome to leave feedback in the comment section below. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and cut you loose. Konnichiwa.